Hello, this is Charlie from MMG, and today we're going to be looking at inputs in VMIX. So, specifically we're going to be looking at how to add inputs and the different kinds of inputs that you can add in VMIX. So to add an input, as you saw in our tutorial of the main UI, it's down here, and it obviously also says add input, so it's quite obvious. So you click it, and now this takes you through essentially all of the different inputs that you can add within VMIX. So a video input, so this is a video, so like, a video track or a video file like an MP4. So if I just give you some small examples of what it kind of looks like. So if I get rid of this video, if we go add input, now I've actually got this video here because when you add video, it also saves it here in this list. So you can quickly just click it, or you can go browse and then you can actually look for the file on your computer and then click it to add it. So if I double click that, it then adds the video here, and then we can just hit play on that again. Now DVDs, so this is essentially if you've got a DVD drive, you can put it in and then you can actually play that DVD, or even a DVD folder. If you've ripped the DVD onto your computer, you can also then play that file here as well. Now, list inputs. Now, these are a bit more complicated and quite interesting, quite useful actually. So if I just add a list input, essentially what this allows me to do, if I go to my documents here, I'm going to add that, okay? So what list input allows you to do, and you'll notice when I add the list input, I now get this tab here that says list. So if I click that, this essentially is almost like another way of doing a playlist, but it comes with a really cool feature. So what this does is it doesn't add every video in your list to VMIX in terms of loading it into the GPU memory. As if you've got a lot of 4K videos, you could quite quickly fill up your VRAM, especially if you've got limited VRAM on the graphics card you're using. So what the list does is it only loads the video that is currently in here. Now, once we go to this list tab here, you've got several options here. Okay, so if you actually want to add a video to your list, you just click where it says add here. So we've got our one video in right now. So if we want to add another one, we can click add, and I've got a video here that we can add. We've added the video just there like that. Now we've got two videos, but as I said, only the video that is currently selected, being this video here. I'm going to pause this and just collapse that. So that particular video is currently loaded. If we then go play next essentially, or double click this, we can play the next video, and now only this video is being loaded. So it's great for not utilizing a lot of PC resources. Now, obviously we can remove by clicking this button. So you want to remove from the list, yes, and then it gets rid of it. Now we can shuffle the list. So if you've got a big long list of videos, you can click shuffle, and that will then shuffle and randomize those videos in the list. You can export the list as well. Play out, so that will essentially just play the list and it will play out the list one by one. Auto next, so do you want it to automatically go to the next video, or do you want to keep playing the video you've got selected? Auto first, so that will automatically always play the first video whenever you cut to the list, because when I cut away, just like with the video settings that we had a look at earlier, you've got automatically pause after transition, and the same thing applies with this as well in here, just like this. So that way when we go here, it will automatically play the first video and it will play it from the beginning. You can also loop the list as well, so the list will keep looping, and that way it will go through all your videos and then go back to the beginning. You've also got an interlaced option just in case your video content is interlaced. Now, in order to move videos within the list, so I'll put this back in quickly. So you can't simply like drag it. You've got to use the arrows, and you can do that to actually manually reorganize the videos. So now the first video is that one. As you see, it automatically played the first one. Whereas if I take away auto first and we play this one, you'll then see it plays the video that it's currently selected on. Now, list inputs can be very useful, particularly for things like ad reels within events on breaks, or maybe you've just got a couple VTs that you maybe just need to stitch together as such. Maybe it's a pre-recorded show and you're using VMIX simply to stream it out, something like that. So the list inputs can be very useful overall. So for the next input we'll have a look at, simply camera. So by camera, it doesn't literally mean camera as such, but it can essentially be any input card or camera on the computer or webcam essentially. So it could be a capture card like a deck link or Arja, a PCIe card, or it could even be your integrated camera on the laptop if you're running VMIX on a laptop, or any virtual cameras like the OBS virtual camera, for example, anything like that. Now, once you select the camera, you can select an input type. So that's the same as the external output. So it'll be like HDMI, SDI, VGA maybe, things like that. Resolution. So you can obviously select the resolution. Typically, this will default when you select your camera input to the resolution of that input. So you don't necessarily need to fiddle around with this, but this is how you would fix your resolution and frame rate essentially as well. It's the same there. The video format. So that's things like the encoding, decoding, things like the H.264 and various different ways of encoding and decoding depending on your input essentially. And you can choose whether you want to have a certain audio bus be on that input. So you could actually not have the audio coming from that camera, and you can actually directly say, you know, maybe you've got a camera and you want that input to have the microphones on it as well. Well, if you bus the microphones to bus A, you could then select, I want VMIX audio bus A with that camera input, and then you would have the mic next to that camera input. And obviously then you can choose the audio format as well, but that will be mostly dictated by the device you choose. So that is the camera inputs. Now we've got NDI and OMT. So this will show you your different NDI outputs and OMT as well. So this is how you'd pull in your NDIs and OMTs. And obviously if you watched our tutorial on the settings tab, you would see that there is an option for basically turning off these previews that you get here for the sources. Typically though, these previews are extremely useful, and typically we keep them on because obviously it shows you exactly what that source is. And so obviously if we pulled this in, this is the screen capture that we're recording with at the moment, because this is all being recorded using NDI. Take that away. Stream SRT. So this is how you'd bring in RTSP, SRT, and you'd actually bring it in as an input, because obviously you can do SRT and RTMP outputs out of VMIX, things like that. This is how you bring in your SRT into VMIX essentially. So you click it and then you get all of the typical settings relating to SRT, such as host name, port, etc., latency. Instant replay. So instant replay is essentially more utilized for things like sports because, well, you know, if you're doing football, let's say, you might want to actually have replays of when they get the ball in the goal. So you can use the instant replay function in VMIX to actually capture those moments, and it is very intuitive. It's quite a lot to go into the instant replay, so we'll probably make a separate tutorial about that. But this is how you would add your instant replay input, and then you select your cameras essentially here, which are your different outputs, and that's how you then select your cameras for the instant replay. But there's quite a lot to go through with instant replay, so we'll save that for another time. Image sequencer or sequence and stinger. So this is how you basically add, say, a sequence of images or a stinger. So not like just a plain image, PNG or JPEG, but more a sequence of images, almost like a slideshow really. We've got video delay here, so you can add a video source like your output essentially into VMIX, so you can then get your output back in here and you can add delay to that. So that's the video delay. Typically we've not really used this, but it's there if you want to use it. Image. So this is where you can just load a simple image, such as a PNG or JPEG or bitmap as well. So you load and you click there and you can add the image here, just like so. Now you've also got photos. So this is a folder of photos and it will display it like a slideshow. So similar to the image sequence or stinger, but a little bit different as well. But you can use this if you need to as well. And speaking of sort of slideshow, PowerPoints, you can actually bring PowerPoints directly into VMIX as well. Note that if you bring a PowerPoint directly into VMIX, you will lose the ability to do things like the transitions between slides and things like that. It becomes quite a flat, straightforward slide, next slide, that kind of thing. But it is a good way to back up a show. Let's say you want to put a PowerPoint in, you can then put some kind of shortcut on that PowerPoint to act like a clicker. And then, yeah, you can do various things with that. And it can, I'd say, more act as a backup PowerPoint rather than the main. But depending on the scale of your show, you might use it as the main. So it's totally up to you. Now, a color input. So this is literally just creating a color, essentially. So if we create this pink here and add it, it just creates that color as the full background, just like that. Particularly good if you want just like a nice solid colored background for maybe making pips on, things like that. Now, the other thing about the color inputs is you can add color bars as well. So we can get these nice color bars. We can also create a transparent. Now, this is quite important. So if you create a transparent, you can see in here that it is actually transparent. Now, there is actually a shortcut to various inputs here. If you click this little drop down arrow sort of thing, or drop up arrow, I suppose, you can basically have a shortcut to many of these different input types. So blank, color bars, and blank essentially is the same as the transparent, with the difference being it's not transparent. It might look the same here, black, but when you go into it, it's actually just a completely black input. So you wouldn't use that if you wanted to have transparency, but maybe if you don't wanted to just have a tile to layer things over the top of. You can add your color bars here, you can add videos here, and you get your quick shortcut to the videos that have recently been added, titles and various different things as well. Now, audio. So by audio, this is the same thing as the video. It's an audio file such as an MP3 or WAV, which it does say at the top here. And in fact, I'm pretty sure all of these say at the top here the sorts of files they can open. So it gives you a lot of information about what the input you're adding is. So this is obviously for adding just some audio. Now, if you want an actual audio input, such as maybe a Focusrite, or you want to add audio input from maybe a capture card of some kind that's directly in the machine through like PCIe, that's how you would do it here. Now, bear in mind, you can also add as an input your actual buses. So I could add bus A as an input, and that would then actually be my bus A. And just to demonstrate that quick, if I go bus A there and turn it on, you can see it then starts metering on that as an input. So you can also add your audio buses as inputs as well as audio devices on the machine. So that's how you get your inputs. And now if you click the mute in headphones, that will essentially mean that when you're using VMIX, typically you can hear everything going on in VMIX in your own mix, even if it's not going to the main output, just so you're aware of what's playing in the file. If you click mute in headphones, you then won't hear that in your headphones. So that's particularly useful if you want to add your own microphone, such as we've got the laptop microphone here. Obviously, I'm not going to want to hear myself in my headphones, so I'd then click mute in headphones for that, just like so, and then add it. Now, titles within VMIX. So what you see here, all of these titles, these are what you get with VMIX as standard. So these are various different sort of, I guess, presets that come with VMIX, and these are various, like there's lots, you can see, different kinds of titles. Now you can use that extra plugin we mentioned in the UI video called GT Title Designer to actually design your own versions of these if you want a more custom look. But there's also nothing stopping you technically making something in another piece of software such as Photoshop, maybe even After Effects, to get the good movement and like flair, I guess we could call it. Obviously make something a bit more special and tailored to what the client wants. Use software like that. As long as it has the transparency, you could then play that still as an overlay. However, you'd probably do it more as such, it'd be a video with the graphics on it. So if you want to directly integrate with the title part of VMIX, you would use the GT Title Designer for that. Now, these are titles, obviously, or lower thirds, or name slides, many different industry sort of names for these. We use lower thirds mostly. Now, when you add one of these as an input, you get this extra menu that allows you to actually change the text inside that input, and you can access that by clicking a title editor. But we'll go over that in another tutorial all about titles and how to edit those. So I'll just get rid of these for now. Now we've also got tickers as well. and the same sort of thing applies. You can go into the title designer. Now that title editor and designer I showed you a second ago, that applies for all of these. So that's how you would change the contents of these titles, the names, or for a scoreboard, the scores, things like that. So you've got scoreboards, GT Social, so that would interface with the other plugin like VMIX Social. So you can pull metrics from social media directly into VMIX Live and have it actually update and basically put that within a title. You've also got stingers. So these are various stingers that are in VMIX, and obviously you see logo there, so you could put your own custom logo into the middle of that. Text, so this is very straightforward. You basically just add text and it can be whatever you want, any color you want, and there's various different styles of text as well. You've also got timers, and timers are obviously a really useful one. Now, there's loads of settings you can do with timers, different kind of ways to set them up, but we'll go over that in a future video. GT Vertical, so this is just sort of like different titles essentially, but obviously it's going to come in more vertical and be for a sort of different aspect ratio potentially, with these ones right in the middle. So different kinds of titles essentially. Multi-view, so by multi-view, and this could be misleading because obviously you might think of a multi-view in a more traditional AV workflow sense as being a multi-view for you as the vision mixer to see all the inputs. With these in multi-view, these are basically just pips that are templates that VMIX give you, and there's only 2 of them. Typically, I would normally create our own pips using the, adding inputs and then tiling the inputs on top of one another, giving them borders, things like that. That'll all be covered in a later video on how you can do that, all about the input settings. And then there's also legacy, various bits, a mixture of different things from legacy VMIX, which is just, more stuff. And then you've got all of them here, and you can also see your recently added titles here as well. So that's titles. We'll be covering that more in depth in a future video, but that's how you would add titles. Now, you can also add virtual sets in VMIX, and like with the titles, VMIX gives you a lot of different presets for that. And I would actually argue that with the virtual sets, as you can see, you've actually got more options as well for pips once again. So loads of pips all the way up to 6 people, and various different layouts for it. And you can change the individual pieces of the virtual sets as well. So you would be able to change the backgrounds behind these and then place content in all of the different boxes, or like people, for example. We don't typically, again, use the virtual sets for pips. If we use virtual sets, we are more using it for the actual look of a virtual set sort of thing in the traditional sense. Again, we'll probably have a video out later covering more in depth about virtual sets and at least how to go about layering the different bits and where that is, the settings for it, and how you might want to set that up. Now, this is quite a cool thing. So we've got web browser. So this is essentially, as it says, you can add a web browser into VMIX. So you might be able to, let's say you've got a client that wants a YouTube video played, right? You could actually add the YouTube video to VMIX as an input and then play that through VMIX. And you would actually be able to interface with the YouTube video as well through the preview window, which I'll show you now. Okay, so I've got a YouTube video here that will load. This is just one of our YouTube. So, okay, on that, just give it a moment and then it will appear. And as you can see, the video is playing. But as you can see, I paused it there. So if you go here, look, I can actually, essentially, I can interact with the video just through the preview window, and even on here as well in the input window. So yeah, as you can see, we're able to interact with the video through the preview window or the input window. So I can click pause, I can change the volume, and I can do all kinds of different things. Now, if you right click this, you can see you can do mouse enabled, keyboard enabled. So if I obviously untick that, now I can't interact with it. Now I can just put that back there, but we can also reload the page. We can go back. We can also go forward. So maybe we go to another video and we want to go back. We can click that, things like that. So I hit go forward. Obviously it's not going to do anything because we didn't have anything loaded for, but it works essentially exactly like a browser would. Now, if we go on properties, it also just tells us the link there. And we can also click update on that just in case something in the link maybe has changed. Maybe that video you've still got pulled is old and it's been changed. It's there if you need it, essentially. Now, you also saw from the web browser, we can disable GPU acceleration. So it will use actually quite a lot of GPU to pull the web page and actually render it within VMIX. So you could disable that if you want it to be a bit more lightweight, that kind of thing for the GPU processing power. Now, here we've got VMIX Call. And again, we'll be covering this more in depth in a future video. So essentially, this is how you would add your VMIX call. So hosting a call or connecting to one. Now, just as a thing to note about VMIX Call now, so if you're planning to use VMIX Call in your show, you would want to add all of your VMIX calls that you potentially want. And I'm pretty sure you can have up to 8 VMIX callers in a single show file with this version of VMIX. If you have other versions of VMIX, you may be limited on the amount of callers you can add. So essentially, when you add your VMIX call, you get a password, and that's what dictates how people connect to the call. Essentially, that's the number they would put in, and that's why obviously when we want to connect to a call, we have to put the password in and then a name, so that when we connect or when the other person connects to us, we can see what their name is and know who they are, essentially. And there's various settings: allow only direct peer-to-peer connections, and also you can show the more advanced options as well, and also control exactly what they see and the bandwidth of your return to that participant, essentially. But we'll cover VMIX Call more in depth in a future video. Now, something that's relatively new for VMIX, but it's been around for a little while now, they've also got Zoom integration. Now, you will need to install this as a extra plugin. So we have that installed here. So we can actually click here and add a Zoom input, and then we click connect. And as you can see, you're able to join, host meetings, things like that. You do need to log into your Zoom account to do all of those things. But yeah, this is how you would add a Zoom input. And again, I think we'll go into detail on how Zoom integration in VMIX, probably in the same video as VMIX Call. Essentially just calls within VMIX, and how to add remote callers and things. So I think that kind of wraps up the general gist of how to add different inputs in VMIX. And as you can see, there is a wide range of different inputs that you can add in VMIX. So any video content, even DVDs and things, images, PowerPoints and slideshows, various kinds, audio, and also hardware inputs, outputs, all kinds of things. So it's very versatile. Before I forget, I will actually just point out in this drop-down menu here, all the inputs we've said, this is how you would add them nice and quickly without having to go through that menu. And this is also how you add a submix. So a submix is essentially just another mix like you've got with your main and preview window. So you can choose your other inputs in here, just like so, and I'm able to cut between them like this. And then whenever you pull this input, you only get what's in the output. So it essentially gives you another way of mixing. It's particularly good for camera mixing because you could load your cameras in here and then chop between them here, so that in your PIP, where you've got your camera, it's just the one camera and you can flick between it very seamlessly. And if you're using a Stream Deck, it becomes even more impressive, because then you can basically cut between any number of cameras you want within this submix, and then that submix in your PIT will obviously then change to what's in the output of this PIT. You can also add your output window in, just like with the output delay, but that's a direct copy of this, no delay. And you can also add your preview window as well. So just to put that in preview to show you, there you go. I think that now wraps up inputs in VMIX and how to add them, everything you'd need to know about it. Hopefully you've enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure to visit our website at mmgaxis.io, where you can find all of our latest content, everything there is to know about our products, all relating to live events, audio and video. Links to all of our socials will be on there as well, including our YouTube, where you can find more tutorials such as this one, tutorials for our products and NDI tools as well. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon.